The leaves are turning, the air is crisp, and you know what that means. A brand new season of anime is upon us. But this fall, forget the usual comfort watches. This season, reality is cancelled because Isekai and fantasy anime are taking us on a wild ride to worlds more captivating than ever before. Animeology is your guide to the hottest Isekai and fantasy titles that are about to explode onto your screens. Don't miss a single epic battle, magical quest, or fantastical romance. Let's dive into these must-watch shows of fall 2024. Number 10, Loner Life in Another World. Imagine being ripped from your comfortable routine of avoiding social interaction and perfecting your ramen slurping technique, only to be thrown into a world of magic and monsters. That's Haruka's reality, and honestly, he's not thrilled. He wouldn't mind some superpowers to spice things up, but fate, it seems, has a twisted sense of humor. While his classmates are busy scoring flashy spells and superhuman strength, Haruka's stuck with the magical equivalent of unwanted leftovers. Haruka's forced to navigate this new world armed with his wits, a healthy dose of sarcasm, and a truly bizarre skill set. He's the embodiment of work smarter, not harder, except his toolkit is just not up to par. And then there are his classmates, who seem to have missed the memo about teamwork and cooperation. Then comes the infighting, the drama, and the inevitable chaos that follows a group of teenagers with too much power and not enough common sense.
ここから何が起こるかわからない。気を引き締めていこう。
Number 9, Let This Grieving Soul Retire. Age, such a cursed yet real term. You can go from the one to the once upon a time, but for some, it can be a luxury. For every old adventurer regaling skeptical tavern patrons with tales of daring do, there's a Cray Andry, a man who just wants to hang up his adventuring boots and enjoy a nice cup of tea in peace. See, Cray had this youthful, foolish dream of becoming a legendary treasure hunter. He even made a pact with his buddies, fueled by youthful enthusiasm and probably too much ale. But as the golden age of treasure hunting dawned, Cray realized he was not well suited for the job. His friends, however, they took to it like ducks to water, becoming the very picture of greedy, glory-hungry adventurers. Cray, meanwhile, discovered his true calling, the art of the strategic retreat. He mastered the art of diplomacy, or more accurately, begging and pleading his way out of perilous situations. Why face a fire-breathing dragon when you can convince your companions that there's probably a much more valuable treasure in the opposite direction? Number 8, Goodbye Dragon Life. Reincarnation can be cruel at times. You could be the mightiest ruler, the wealthiest merchant, the most feared dragon, and end up reborn as a farmer with a penchant for growing prize-winning turnips. Such is the peculiar fate of Dolan, our protagonist. Once, he was the most powerful dragon in existence, a creature of immense magic and even greater grumpiness. Even the gods thought twice before disturbing his beauty sleep. But times change, heroes rise, and even legendary dragons can find themselves on the wrong end of a heroically wielded sword. And so Dolan finds himself reborn, not with a roar, but a yawn. Gone are the days of soaring through the heavens and hoarding mountains of gold. Now, it's all about tilling the fields, mending fences, and trying to remember if he fed the chickens. Yet, to Dolan's surprise, this simple life devoid of world domination schemes or epic battles has its own unexpected charm. Of course, no good reincarnation story is complete without a touch of the extraordinary. Enter Selena, a Lamia on a quest for love, which is proving rather difficult when your lower half is, well, serpentine. Dolan, with his past life experiences, is unfazed by Selena's unique physique. They form a bond as unexpected as it is heartwarming. But don't think for a moment that this is just a quiet tale of rural romance. Dolan's past life has a nasty habit of rearing its scaly head. Number 7, I'll become a villainess who goes down in history. As the old saying goes, seeking too much is never good. especially when you're a villainess in an otome game, notorious for your venomous wits, questionable fashion choices, and a talent for making enemies. Meet our protagonist, a young woman with an unhealthy obsession with Alicia, the resident bad girl of the popular otome game Hearts of Deception. We've all been there, right? Crushing hard on the fictional character who probably eats puppies for breakfast, but our girl takes it to the next level. She wants to be Alicia, consequences be damned. And wouldn't you know it, a sleepy truck driver grants her wish in the most permanent way possible. Reborn as a 7-year-old Alicia, she's got a head full of game knowledge, a heart full of villainous ambition, and a wardrobe that screams future dictator. She's determined to become the most iconic villainess in gaming history. But as with all good reincarnation stories, fate, it seems, has other plans. Turns out, escaping a predetermined storyline is harder than it looks, even when you've got the cheat codes. Number 6, the healer who was banished from his party is, in fact, the strongest. Getting rejected, only to be the very legend they seek. Sounds cliche, but in actuality, there's nothing more satisfying than watching your former companions choke on their own misguided judgments, especially when you've been secretly carrying the team this whole time. So, Laos is your quintessential support class, kind, compassionate, always ready with a healing potion and a reassuring smile. He's basically the walking, talking equivalent of a warm hug. There's just one tiny problem. Laos secretly a powerhouse, a close combat whirlwind of pain disguised as a gentle healer. Why the charade, you ask? Well, some people just like to watch the world burn, and Laos prefers to let his fist do the talking. So, when his clueless party leader, blinded by arrogance and a truly impressive collection of shiny armor, boots poor Laos for not pulling his weight, it's less of a tragedy and more of an opportunity. Laos shrugs, packs his healing herbs, and sets off to find new, less judgmental companions. Number 5, the Doover Damsel conquers the Dragon Emperor. Engagements, a time for cake, celebrations, and meticulously plotting your escape from a preordained life of misery. That's the situation facing Jill Savelle, a woman who's had the dubious pleasure of being betrayed, framed, and generally mistreated by the very kingdom she swore to protect. But who needs a peaceful afterlife when you can have a do-over? Thanks to a generous helping of fate, a dash of divine intervention, and maybe a sprinkle of cosmic irony, Jill finds herself catapulted back in time. No more Lady Goddess of War, now she's a spunky 10-year-old with the knowledge of a jaded war veteran and a to-do list that reads like a revenge fantasy. First up, break off her engagement to the treacherous Prince Geralt. Now, most 10-year-olds would write a strongly worded letter or maybe stage a dramatic hunger strike. Not Jill. She goes for the nuclear option, declaring her undying love to the Dragon Emperor Hades Theos Rave. You know, the Dragon Emperor, the one destined to go mad and paint the kingdom red with the blood of his enemies. Except, he's not quite the tyrannical monster Jill remembers. In fact, he's a bit of a softie. A powerful, terrifying, fire-breathing softie, but a softie nonetheless. And so begins Jill's second chance at life and love? Number 4, a terrified teacher at Ghoul School.
桜舞う4月、僕は憧れの教師になった。
Teaching is a tough profession, they say, molding young minds, inspiring a love of learning, and occasionally dodging spitballs in the classroom. But spare a thought for poor Haruaki Abe, because his teaching gig takes challenging to a whole new level of send help and maybe an exorcist. Haruaki, you see, is not your typical teacher. He's more likely to faint at the sight of a spider than inspire a classroom of eager students. So, naturally, fate, in its infinite sense of humor, has placed him in charge of a classroom full of ghouls, goblins, and things that go bump in the night. Haruaki's students are a mischievous bunch with a penchant for pranks that would make even the bravest soul lose their lunch and possibly their sanity.
生徒からジャーマンスープレックスをかけられたのだった。
Number 3, the most notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan. If you believe in yourself hard enough, even yapping can become a superpower. At least, that's the philosophy of Noel, a man who proves that the loudest voice in the room often belongs to the one holding all the cards. Noel, see, had dreams. Big, ambitious dreams of following in his legendary grandfather's footsteps and becoming the strongest seeker in the land. He imagined epic battles, heroic feats of strength, and maybe a statue erected in his honor. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Instead of bestowing upon him the power to cleave mountains in two or shoot lasers from his eyes, Noel was blessed with the most underwhelming ability imaginable. He's a talker. Now, in most worlds, talkers are about as useful as a chocolate teapot in a heat wave. They're the designated negotiators, the mediators, the ones who try to talk their way out of a fight while everyone else is busy sharpening their swords. But Noel, bless his ambitious little heart, saw an opportunity. If I can't be the strongest fighter, he reasoned, then I'll simply assemble the strongest fighting force and stand triumphantly at the top. Thus began Noel's unorthodox rise to power. He wheedled, he cajoled, he threatened, he negotiated deals that would make even the most seasoned diplomat break out in a cold sweat. His methods were questionable, to say the least. Some might even call them downright villainous, but you can't argue with results. Number 2, Demon Lore 2099. The year is 2099. Flying cars, so last century. Self-aware toasters, yesterday's news. We're talking a world where magic and technology have become as inseparable as a teenager and their smartphone. Skyscrapers pierce the clouds, powered by ancient runes humming with arcane energy. Cybernetically enhanced shamans sling spells alongside neon-clad hackers. Welcome to Shinjuku, the cyberpunk metropolis of the future, where the only thing more dazzling than the technology is the sheer audacity of its inhabitants. But even in this neon-drenched wonderland, some things never change, like the insatiable ambition of a conquering demon lord, for instance. Beltol, back from a 5-century-long power nap and ready to reclaim his title as ruler of all things scary. There's just one tiny problem. The world has moved on. Literally, gone are the days of fire and brimstone, replaced by a society obsessed with holographic entertainment, designer drugs, and the latest stock market trend for magically infused microchips. It's enough to make a demon lord yearn for the good old days, back when conquering the world involved more dragons and fewer legal disclaimers. Number 1, Dragon Ball Daima. The Dragon Ball universe, a place where planet-busting energy blasts are commonplace. Villains arrive with the subtlety of a supernova, and the fate of the universe is often decided over a hearty meal. But even in a world where the impossible is a Tuesday afternoon, some events leave you scratching your head and wondering if someone spiked the senzu beans. Goku, the Saiyan who could once bench press a mountain range, is now the size of a toddler. His legendary strength reduced to, well, it's still pretty impressive, but let's just say he's going to have to get creative. Good thing he never leaves home without his trusty power pole, which suddenly transitioned from a handy mode of transportation to the ultimate weaponized toothpick. Exiled to a strange new world, the miniaturized Z-Fighters must navigate a land of towering flora, colossal creatures, and challenges that require more ingenuity than brute force.